In July 2025, the world was rocked by a seismic event. General Dmitry Volkov, a top commander in Russia's western military district, defected to NATO. He didn't vanish quietly. He walked into a NATO embassy carrying secrets that could unravel years of Russian military planning. This wasn't just a soldier seeking asylum, it was a pillar of the Russian military establishment switching sides, sending shockwaves from the Kremlin to the Pentagon. Volkov's defection exposed deep cracks in the Russian military's image of unity and loyalty, raising urgent questions about the stability of Putin's armed forces. If a man like Volkov could turn, who else might be considering the same path? Russian state media dismissed the reports as Western propaganda, but as NATO confirmed the event, the reality set in. For NATO, Volkov's arrival was both a monumental intelligence windfall and a delicate challenge: how to use his knowledge without provoking a reckless Russian response. The alliance now had access to a source with unparalleled insight into Russian capabilities and plans. The world watched as this high-stakes drama unfolded, knowing its consequences would shape the future of the standoff between Russia and the West. The defection of General Volkov was more than a headline, it was a turning point in global security. Volkov's defection sent shockwaves through the Russian military, shattering the myth of unwavering loyalty. Soldiers and officers, once certain of their cause, now faced unsettling doubts. If a celebrated general could abandon them, what did that say about their mission? The Kremlin's response was swift. Purges, loyalty checks, and a climate of suspicion swept through the ranks. Commanders became hesitant, fearing any misstep could be seen as treason. Trust evaporated, replaced by paranoia and self-preservation. Families of officers eyed each other with suspicion, and the social fabric of the military elite began to fray. Recruitment and retention suffered as young men reconsidered military careers, wary of a fractured, fearful leadership. Desertions and refusals to serve increased, compounding Russia's existing manpower challenges. The Kremlin's efforts to enforce loyalty risked deepening resentment among those unjustly targeted. The prestige of the Russian uniform was tarnished, and the military's effectiveness eroded from within. Volkov's defection was not just a personal betrayal, it was a blow to the very heart of Russia's armed forces. The question now, how many more cracks would appear before the foundation gave way? For NATO, Volkov's defection was an intelligence coup of historic proportions. As a top commander, he brought intimate knowledge of Russian doctrine, unit strengths, equipment, and operational plans. He revealed the real decision-making process inside the Russian high command, exposing rivalries and vulnerabilities. Volkov's information allowed NATO to move from educated guesses to confirmed facts, like being handed the opponent's playbook mid-game. This intelligence would reshape NATO's defensive posture, enabling more effective countermeasures and proactive strategies. But the alliance faced a challenge: using this information without exposing their source or provoking Russia into unpredictable action. NATO's intelligence agencies had to balance the need for security with the opportunity for strategic advantage. The true value of Volkov's defection would depend on how skillfully the West wielded this new weapon. The battle over Volkov's defection quickly became a war of words and images. Russian state media painted him as a traitor corrupted by the West, aiming to discredit both the man and his message. Simultaneously, the Kremlin framed the event as a Western plot, reinforcing the narrative of Russia besieged by enemies. This propaganda aimed to rally domestic support and justify crackdowns on dissent. Meanwhile, NATO crafted a subtler message. Volkov was a patriot who could no longer serve a corrupt regime. The West highlighted his defection as evidence of a moral crisis within Russia's elite, hoping to inspire further dissent. The challenge was to avoid triumphalism, which could backfire and strengthen the Kremlin's siege mentality. Volkov himself became the most powerful symbol. His words, if made public, would carry more weight than any official statement. The struggle to control the narrative was as crucial as the intelligence he brought. In this information war, perception could be as decisive as any battlefield victory. Volkov's defection echoed legendary Cold War betrayals that reshaped history. Oleg Penkovsky's leaks helped avert nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis, while Viktor Belenko's flight with a MiG-25 exposed Soviet weaknesses. These acts were more than intelligence coups, they shattered myths of Soviet invincibility and loyalty. Defectors like Arkady Shevchenko revealed the cynicism and internal decay of the Soviet elite, offering insights beyond technical secrets. Such betrayals accelerated paranoia, forced costly security overhauls, and emboldened other dissenters. Volkov's actions fit this pattern, threatening to unravel the Kremlin's carefully constructed image. History shows that a single defection can trigger a cascade of consequences, both inside the regime and across the world stage. Volkov's name may soon join the ranks of those whose choices changed the course of global power. What drives a man like Volkov to risk everything and defect? The Kremlin blames greed or blackmail, but the truth is more complex. A mix of professional disillusionment, moral crisis, and survival. Volkov may have grown disgusted by corruption, senseless losses, or political interference in military affairs. The cognitive dissonance between his oath and the regime's actions could have become unbearable. Fearing he'd become a scapegoat in a paranoid system, defection might have seemed the only escape. Perhaps he experienced a genuine ideological shift, seeing the West not as an enemy, but as a hope for Russia's future. His choice reflects the deeper fissures within the Russian state, cracks that propaganda cannot conceal. Understanding Volkov's motives is key to grasping the true instability now facing the Kremlin. The Kremlin's response was swift and ruthless. Volkov was erased from official records, his family targeted for retribution, a warning to others. The FSB launched a brutal purge, interrogating officers and destroying careers to instill fear and enforce loyalty. Every protocol Volkov knew was overhauled. Codes changed, plans rewritten, assets relocated, creating chaos and vulnerability within the military. The crackdown sacrificed competence for control, further weakening Russia's armed forces. Internationally, Moscow projected defiance. Military exercises, aggressive patrols, and disinformation campaigns aimed to distract from internal turmoil. The regime's belligerence was a mask for its insecurity, signaling strength while scrambling to contain the damage. The cost of Volkov's betrayal was not just lost secrets, but a self-inflicted wound that would haunt Russia's military for years. The world watched, knowing that the Kremlin's show of force hid a deepening crisis within. Volkov's defection permanently altered the global security landscape. For NATO, it meant a fundamental reassessment of the Russian threat, armed with unprecedented intelligence. But it also revealed the fragility of the Russian system, tempting some in the West to overestimate the regime's weakness. A paranoid, wounded Kremlin could become even more unpredictable and dangerous. Inside Russia, purges and loyalty checks would erode military professionalism, replacing experience with fear and resentment. The country's ability to project power would decline, forcing reliance on nuclear threats and rogue alliances. Global alliances would shift as nations recalibrated their ties in light of Russia's instability. China, watching closely, might quietly adjust its relationship with a weakened Moscow. The world now faced a new era of uncertainty, with the specter of more defections and deeper cracks in authoritarian regimes. Volkov's choice was a stark reminder: even the strongest facades can crumble from within.